go. It looks like we're going live, and I want to say hi to everyone. I want to double check here and make sure we're on. Usually it goes live right away. So it's me and Karlee are here to chat with you. Yep, we're live. And so we are going to start our talk on the inner child, or basically, let's see, it says we're live streaming. Basically, the idea of inner child healing. So I've heard, some talk about it over the years, but I've never really, to be honest with you, delved deeply into it. And I've always seen it as something fairly complicated. And it takes someone that, like you, who is a specialist in that area, to be able to kind of share what, what's kind of involved with it. Now, on these talks and interviews that we do here in my Facebook community, Essentials for Peace and Balance, we talk about the categories of self-expansion, being able to think a little outside of the box or expand how you're thinking of things so that you can become more self-aware, so that you can practice self-compassion and self-forgiveness. And I feel like what you do for and with your clients, Karlee, has a lot to do with self-empowerment as well, and in honesty, self-honesty. So you are a personal growth and spiritual facilitator. You're also an emotional release guide, a soul coach, a sound and energy healer, and you specialize in community building and empowering souls to take their healing into their own hands. And I love that. And one thing I think is really cool is that you actually do in-person events as well, right?
Yeah,
so,
that is the main focus. Yeah.
Yeah. So why don't you share with us a little bit about you and what you do as a spiritual growth and as a personal growth and spiritual facilitator?
Yeah. Ooh, that's a big question. Should I aim it towards one-on-ones or, or all over?
Well, I think it depends on what you feel you'd like to share with the group. I know that we mentioned in the when I set up the interview, I mentioned what you do and what your gifts are about helping people feel like they're in a safe space and to heal. So you really empower others to take their healing and their gifts in their own hands and share what they can do to have a brighter future. So maybe if you want to just tell us how you got to where you are right now as a healer, as a facilitator for that type of stuff, and specifically geared toward that inner child healing.
Yeah, it's a great question. I like that. Well, hello, everyone. Happy to be here. So, the inner child healing has been a big part of my journey, because I wouldn't be where I was today in my own personal life, but also my professional life, especially being an entrepreneur, and all these different ways that, I guess, inner child healing in a nutshell really is uncovering from the root causes why you might have some suffering and challenges in your present moment, in your now as an adult. And all of these are always going to be linked back to your child when you're a child. So all of these different emotions imprint within our subconscious mind, but also within our energetic field. And all of these are influencing us on an unconscious level a lot of the times until we start unraveling this. So for inner child healing, for me personally, there was a lot of different ways that my needs weren't met as a child, which therefore I was acting and behaving in a certain way as an adult to fulfill those needs. So a lot of the times as adults, we're just all a bunch of children still that haven't actually dealt with these different needs that weren't met as children, and create different scenarios in our life. And some of them can be very negative. Like, I'm thinking my big example for me is, and I see this in most of my clients anyways, because I think it's very generational personally. I believe that is being unavailable emotionally. So I had a really great childhood. And when I first started on my personal growth journey, I was like, oh, like, I don't know, like, there's not much to do, blah, blah, or whatever. And like, you wonder why you're not taking certain actions, or why you're not going for certain things, or disciplined, or those kind of things, like, really can hold us back. And my parents, when I was a child, and I do love my parents, and they're still together. And like I said, I thought I had a really great childhood, and I did. It wasn't a bad childhood per se, but there's a lot of ways that my parents unconsciously imprinted on me without even noticing it. And that influences me as an adult. So that unemotional availability was, for example, when I was trying to express something, or maybe I had done something wrong in their eyes, I was shut down and dismissed and sent to my room. So I never had a chance to share how I was feeling, or maybe my side of the story per se. It was always, you're right, or I'm right, you're wrong, kind of thing. It was very black and white. So as an adult, I was afraid to express my feelings. I would stuff them down, and that could not spiral. That's like a big spiral on that one, like where that leads to. And afraid to express my truth. So for many years, I was in abusive relationships, physically and emotionally, romantic, but also friendships. Even as like a teenager, I was in a lot of really emotionally abusive relationships. And this was why, is because I thought that was a normal thing for me. It was normal for me not to be able to express myself and my feelings, and even understand or know what they are. So that's kind of like I'll stop there, but can I ask a question on that one?
Yes. Yes, and I can understand what you're talking about now. It makes it more clear that some of the things that we were taught or that we observed as we were growing up inadvertently gave us messages or inner scripts or thoughts that went with us, and we just went with the flow, not realizing that there are certain skills that we maybe didn't learn, or that we weren't allowed to express as we go along. That makes sense. And I feel like that's probably in every single relationship. Every single one of us as children have learned things that were taught to us or fed to us that were not necessarily in our best interest as adults now, because we were not given the opportunities that, and how was our parents supposed to know what we were going to be when we grew up, and how certain things that they used in their way of raising us was going to kind of push down and weigh heavy on us. And so I can see where you're coming from on that. And, so what was it? I know that what you went through as a child, and maybe feeling unworthy, you were then in these toxic relationships because you were used to stuffing your feelings and being quiet and not necessarily being your own advocate. So what is it that sparked you into this holistic wellness and healing field?
What sparked it? Years ago, when I was like in middle, maybe it was high school. My sister, I'm really close with my sister. She's 3 years older than me, and she wanted to start exercising. And that's usually where it starts with everybody, and then you get deeper and deeper into it. So I started, yeah, going to the gym with her and like going to fitness classes, and I've always liked hiking, so doing lots of hiking, being out in nature. And then that just kind of trickled into exploring things further and diving deeper into it and noticing, like, first, of course, most people do start at that physical level. And then once you start noticing the benefits, you're like, oh, wow, I'm feeling really good, blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, wow, now what else can I learn, or what else can I dive into? So that was kind of like where I'm always at, is exploring more and more and going deeper and deeper. And the deeper I go, the more that I can embody higher frequencies and peace and joy and all of happiness, and have dissolved or transmuted those lower frequencies that attached or were attached onto me and in the subconscious mind as well. Yeah.
So I think when we talked, or when you filled out the survey, you mentioned some of the compelling aspects that you offer those people who connect with you, whether it's in person or virtually, and you're able to empower and teach them to self-heal instead of receive healing. And so can you tell us a little bit about what you do in some of the different modalities that you use that give people those actionable, tangible steps to be able to comfort themselves?
I like that. I definitely do some guided healing with people, depending on where they're at in their journey. And then from there, teaching them how to do those things. So different forms of energy healing are definitely different, but it can be, it's just really, it varies per person. So like those action steps or those day-to-day things could be anything from writing like a forgiveness letter to yourself and burning it, or teaching you different forms of meditation or breath work, or tools how to deal with anxiety, living in the present moment and not living in the past or the future. Well, actually, one of the biggest alignment steps, though, that I do give to all of my one-on-one clients is writing prompts. So depending on the person, I love writing prompts. I think they're like really transformational, and they have been for me too, but I channel them depending on the person and what their core, the root causes are of their suffering and challenges, not just like what's on the surface level. And my clients always have really great transformations because they're able to really dig into their subconscious mind and understand how they're operating, either from the egoic mind, which most people are until they realize that they are, and then taking that power back and going back into the body and coming from the heart and the soul and strengthening the intuition.
Right. Now, I had something here I was just reading. Holly is listening. We have a few people that are listening, so thank you for joining us, and feel free to ask questions, share your input. And one thing that Holly said is that she was thinking, isn't it healthier to have a more positive approach and not really dwell on the future or even the past, and maybe blaming things on people or things that happened in the past, and just work on improving your present right now. Maybe work on some future goals, but right now, how to live in the present and be happy and comfortable and feel safe and empowered. And so she kind of brought that up, and ways that you help people to improve your life in the now. And she feels like sometimes you move backwards when you try to fix your past. And so she thinks it sometimes maybe feels like you're backpedaling. So just curious what your thoughts on that. Do you have people that you work with that kind of feel that way as well, that they might be backpedaling when you're trying to get them to visit that things in the past or in
Right.
that subconscious.
Yeah. So it's really important to understand that if it's influencing your now, then it needs to be dealt with. You can't just dismiss it. It's always going to be there. It's always going to be part of you. So how can you integrate that, all parts of you, into that experience? And there are different ways that you can do it, maybe in a gentler manner, per se, for sure. But a lot of people don't even realize until they have deeper self-awareness how much that little girl or that little boy within us is literally running our everyday lives. And like I said, most adults are in that mode all the time, and they don't
Mhm.
even realize that they are.
Yeah, I really do hear where you're coming from with that, because I lived a life, and I felt like I had a good family as well, not perfect, but a great family. But when I was in my 30s, I realized that there were some things going on, and some things in the way I perceived certain things as a child, and the way things were presented to me, whether it be my parents, the church I was attending, my peer group, or whatever. I literally got angry for a while when I realized that a lot of what was going on and what they said and everything, I took it to heart, because I felt like, I am sort of like a people pleaser, I was, and I took it to heart, feeling that that's the way it's supposed to be. So
Mhm.
just don't buck the system. Well, as we get older, we realize that the system doesn't know it all, and they don't have all the answers. And so I do agree with you that it's extremely helpful to be able to maybe recognize and observe those things that of our inner child, without dwelling on them or constantly stirring them up. I would imagine that in your work with people, you teach them how to take that and be creative with it and use it to move forward, not to stay there and keep dredging it up. If you keep
Exactly.
dredging it up and you keep
Yeah.
blaming the past, you're not going to make progress. But
Yeah.
but recognize it, you know love it, and observe it and use it to move forward. And that's more of what you probably do, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you have the power to transmute it. So it's like once, like you said, like once you recognize it, and then if you have certain tools and you know what you're doing, then you can dissolve that. And then you can start reparenting that little girl or that little boy in whatever kind of wound that was going on there. So then therefore it's not translating into your present moment or your now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm a big one on repetition. As a child, things that we were repeatedly asked to do, told to do, observed other people doing, those things continue to repeat themselves in our mind. Wouldn't you agree with that? So
Yeah.
our mind is kind of thrives or craves that repetition and that sameness. And unless we can dig in there a little bit and start replacing some of those repeated habits or thoughts or feelings with new ones or adjusted ones or more realistic ones, then we're not going to be able to, then our mind's just going to continue to repeat what's happening. And you said that most people are in that. To me, that's what my take was on what you said, is most people are in that repeat mode. You just follow the leader, keep doing that dog paddle, and you're not going to get very far very fast if you don't recognize what's going on, what's holding you there, and then move forward. Um, it's not an easy thing to do, though. Uh, there are different modalities, like you said, for different people, different settings, different situations, different opportunities. You can't really say this works for everybody. So it sounds like you have investigated and explored many avenues for helping people. And
Mhm.
of all the different things that you enjoy and that your clients come to you for, I'm just curious, what
Mhm.
what is one of your skills that or modalities that you use that you find is more people are drawn to? Like, is it the sound healing? Is it the writing of the letters and things like that? What is it that right now in the last few months has had the biggest impact on your clients?
Mhm. For in-person events, definitely sound healing for sure. I sing as well with my bowls. So yeah, I provide some transmissions and activations, which is fun. Definitely the bowls for in-person stuff. For like one-on-one sessions, it would definitely be like the guided energy healing and clearing out the past, because a lot of people will come to me and like, this happened in the past, or like, my husband cheated on me and I can't stop thinking about it and I blame myself and blah blah blah, and it just keeps coming in my head over and over and over again. You can actually clear that out, so you don't have to keep thinking about it all the time.
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
doesn't have to keep coming back over and over and over again. Yeah.
Right. And that is the only way that we are going to be able to live in our power and in our strength, is to be able to get a handle on that, nurture that little child, like you said, and nurture yourselves as you recover and move forward. And I'll tell you, the insults don't end with childhood.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. That's
there's
what I'm
a
saying. That's why I gave you that example, because that can imprint on us just as much as the children's stuff. But a lot of the children's stuff is unconscious, so it's bringing it to the conscious. And I would say the other piece would be uh, the being energies. So really balancing the masculine and feminine energies within us. I mean, our females, as females, we're very conditioned into a hyper masculine society, and we're coming out of that now. But how do we slow down and rest without feeling guilty? And how do we embrace our being energy and not our doing energy?
there.
Yeah.
That in itself, I think, is the crux of what this group is about, is not feeling that you have to always be in the doing energy
Yeah,
and spending time
big
in the
one.
being energy. Yeah, I love
Mhm.
how you said that. That is it in a nutshell. So, wow. Um, because I was that way for a long time. I mean,
Me too.
I didn't start slowing down until I was in my 50s, and I had to because I was on medical leave. And I just felt like I had to just keep going and do the best and all
Mhm.
that. So yeah, it makes a big difference. So how can people get in touch with you? I know that you have a Facebook group, it looks like here. And so, what would be the best way for people to reach out and learn more about you?
You're welcome to Facebook or Instagram. If not, I do have a website. It's karleerosewalder.com.
Okay. So
Yeah.
what we'll do when we say goodbye to everyone here, I know you sent me some of those links, so I will put them down in the comments below so people have access to it. Is there anything else you wanted to share with us before we say goodbye on this session?
Ooh, I don't think so, except thank you. I'm very grateful for being here and sharing with your community. And if anyone has any questions or comments, like please message me. I love to connect and chat. I love it. It's great.
Yeah.
And love to hear from you. And make sure, if you're interested, I'm sure Cindy's gonna drop my Set Your Soul Free workbook in after we finish going live. But I'm super pumped about it. I just released it like a couple weeks ago. I've been working on it for months now. And it's 30 writing prompts and teachings to help you embody more peace, purpose, play, and pleasure.
Wow, that sounds great. And if you don't mind, you're welcome to go right in there and drop that yourself. right now that link when we get off here. And there are a few comments in the chat. So when we get off here, if you'd like to go in and address those with the listeners, you're welcome to do so. We invite you to do so, to be able to share and you know, get a little bit deeper connected. And I know Holly was just saying that she is not saying that we have to dismiss these tragic events completely by any means. We're not. She's not encouraging us just to dismiss it or try
Yeah.
to push it under the rug. But yeah, just being aware that at some point you need to let go of that and move forward. And you are sharing
Yeah.
with us this evening some of those tools that can help people to let go in very creative ways. So thank you for that. And we're just going to sign off and say goodbye to everyone. And
Bye.
have a good evening. Bye-bye.